Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. If you watched my video the other day on No Sanctuary, What Lies Ahead, you will know that I have been waiting for my copy of The Walking Dead No Sanctuary to arrive from Cryptozoic, and they only sent me the expansions. They didn't send me the base game or anything else. So while we're sorting that out, I thought I would do a couple of unboxings of what I do have. So I did What Lies Ahead the other day, and today I'm going to take a look at The Walking Dead Killer Within, which is the expansion based on the prison stuff. And I say today, I'm actually filming this immediately after having filmed the other one. I'm trying to create the illusion of time passing. But there we go. Again, I really quite like the cover. There's something about this style on the white background. It's a little bit pop arty, isn't it? Which is kind of fitting for a pop culture thing. And I quite like it. It's quite striking. And of course, this expansion has got two of my favourite characters in it. Let's have a look inside. The main thing that's been an issue that's been raised by people who've received their copies is that the quality is subpar not in terms of the gameplay. People seem to be saying it's okay as a game, but in terms of the quality of the components, not great. And I can see where they're coming from. I am not as disappointed as other people. I am disappointed that I don't have my blooming game. I've only got these 2 expansions that I can't do anything with. That is maybe that disappointment is overshadowing the lesser disappointment of the quality of the components. I'm not happy. I'm happy enough. It's one of those things where it's about what I was expecting, a little bit less in certain things, but overall it's pretty much what I was expecting, and I'm not disappointed that much. I would have liked things to be nicer. It's always nice for things to be nicer, but there we go. I mean, this is a prime example. These are the scenario sheets, which are just bits of paper, and that's fine if you just need to read the scenario sheet and then put it to one side. But these scenario sheets are going to be on the table. You're going to have them out for the whole game, and you're going to be putting things on them, and it's just risk of spills and stains and things like that, and getting creased and folded and sliding off the table and all that sort of stuff. Graphic designer really went to town on these tokens. There were some tokens in the first expansion, and they were fire tokens, and they looked like little fire icons, and that was fine. This just says breach on it. I'm sure they could have come up with a graphic for that. Quality's okay. Whatever, tokens are tokens. Character sheets. There's Michonne. This is one of the characters that sort of everyone was very excited about having. During the campaign, one of the things that I was initially very disappointed about was that I kind of would have had to have paid extra to get the prison expansion. I was sort of being forced to get the farm one rather than the prison one. And that all got changed anyway. I don't know while I'm bringing up all that nonsense, but during the Kickstarter campaign there was a hoo-ha about expansions and things, and this was the expansion I really wanted. Obviously I've got both, but this was the one I really wanted because one, it had Michonne in it, and she's just cool. It's a slightly weird character. It's one of those characters that kind of really emphasises the fact that it's from a comic book world, because it's just the whole nature of the character. Tyrese, we miss you. But then my favourite character in the show, and sort of my main reason for wanting this expansion, is Carol. Carol's just cool. Big fan of Carol. And yeah, artwork's pretty cool. The artwork on these cards is pretty good. I do like these. They're not very thick, but they feel quite sturdy. and then there's a rival's prisoners. So anyway, that's that. As with the other expansion, you get four tiles. Outside tiles for outside locations, and then on the back there are inside tiles, and you'll see that the inside scale is different to the outside scale. On the outside scale, this basketball court is taking up less than half of a grid. On the inside location, well, you can see that the scale isn't a matching scale. There's a tower, there's a watchtower, and then there's a bed. So the inside outside scales are different. Again, ugly yellow lines marking sort of locations you can't enter, and that's a bit of a shame, because otherwise I actually quite like these tiles, and they're a decent thickness. They're a decent thickness. I'm happy with those. I have a problem with that. So those are those. And then there's the big thing, the big bugbear is the miniatures. People are not happy with the miniatures. Cards again. I'm not happy with the miniatures, but I'm not unhappy with the miniatures. They are, like I say, they're what I would expect, but it would have been nice to have had nicer ones. The big problem is that the sculptor didn't sculpt the details deeply enough, so that when they've gone through from render to mould to plastic, from my almost non-existent knowledge of miniature creation, this is what I understand it to be, is that those details have been lost in the transition process. This is Michonne though, and I've got to say, that's come out quite nicely. So I'm trying to get that so, her sword's a bit wonky. I can straighten that out with the hot water treatment. The hot water treatment does work on these miniatures, even though they're sort of harder plastic. They're not like Games Workshop plastic. They will still bend with hot water. Here's Carol. That's a again. You can see that there is detail has been lost. I mean, her gun doesn't look much like a gun. I mean, it's a step up from Herschel's gun in the other expansion. Doesn't look like a twig, but at the same time, and again, the facial details, they're just soft. You can see who it's supposed to be. It's going to look quite nice on the table, but it could have been better. It could have been a step higher. And I can see why people aren't happy, but personally, I'm not having too hard a time with it. Therese, his facial features have come out quite nicely, and he's got some quite nice detailing. I think I don't know right there. This is a recurring problem with a lot of the miniatures, is the arm joints. Where the arms have been assembled, the arms just don't fit right. Here's Coral. Coral suffers probably the most from having poor facial detailing, and I wonder if that's because he's a young actor. Maybe a sort of boyish face, maybe his facial features didn't lend themselves well to the sculpting process. I don't know, but it's a slightly unnatural, weird pose as well. But seriously, no one's going to play as Coral anyway, are they? No one's going to play as Coral. Forget him. You also get a bunch of zombies. Zombies in riot gear. And again, the zombies are not too bad. The zombies are not too... Uh-oh, dropped him. Let's grab another one. That one's gone under my table. Better make sure the dog doesn't eat him. Although that's just extra zombie damage, isn't it? Again, with the odd attaching of the arms not being quite right. But, you know, there is detailing in there. It's just not as crisp as it could have been. And I think it would have been if another company had done it. Cryptozoic aren't known for their miniatures games, and it shows here. They are perfectly serviceable, and like I say, when I backed this game, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for miniatures that looked like the people from the TV shows, and that's what I got. And I expected them to be board game quality, and that's what I got. There were not promises as such, but there were. Cryptozoic kept saying they were going to do the best they could, make them as detailed as they could, and they've either tried and failed, or they didn't try, depending on your outlook. I tend to want to think the best of people, and I would think that they probably tried and it just hasn't quite panned out. But as pieces on a table, they will be they will work, and I'm probably not going to paint them anyway, because my painting queue goes on forever and ever and ever and ever, and I've got old Anima Tactics models that I want to paint. I've got Games Workshop stuff that I want to paint. I've got Warlord Games stuff. I've got Doctor Who miniatures that I want to paint. I've got things. I've got stuff and things. That's what I've got. And these just aren't going to make it onto the queue, onto the painting queue. Even if they were the nicest board game quality models, they probably wouldn't make it onto my painting queue. I lack the energy to invest a lot of time in painting board game pieces when I have so many tabletop miniatures that need paint on them. But there we go. That's the full lot. This is the rival, by the way. He's got take on me. Yeah, he's got a monkey wrench or something, or a bit of bent pipe or something going on. A bit of bent pipe in it. Yeah. So there you go. That's it. That's the lot. That's the expansions. That's all I can talk about for now until Cryptozoic sort me out on my base game, and then I can actually play the game, and then I can decide whether I like it or not, and I can decide whether I shouldn't have bothered opening these expansions and selling them sealed for extra profit and dirty lucre. That's it for me. Bye everybody. Bye bye.